I think you and I were both given a gift that we probably wouldn't have chosen. Yours came through a heart attack. Mine came through a global pandemic. Different circumstances, same invitation, pause. Most people don't pause voluntarily. They wait until life pauses them. Because we live in a culture that celebrates motion. Go faster, do more, scale bigger, post more. But some of the greatest breakthroughs in my life personally didn't come from acceleration.
Welcome to the podcast, and that is his real background. Craig Siegel joining us from New York City, across the street from Manhattan, I'm assuming?
In Manhattan.
Oh, in Manhattan. Amazing.
So that behind me would effectively be Long Island City because I'm on the East River of Manhattan.
Long Island City, even better. We're thrilled to welcome to the show Craig Siegel. Craig is the founder and CEO of CLS. We're going to talk about what that organization does. He is a Wall Street Journal bestselling author, a CPC coach, speaker. He has his podcast called the CLS Experience Podcast, TEDx speaker, marathoner, investor. And I cannot even tell you how many social media followers that this gentleman has. We're thrilled to have Craig Siegel. Welcome to the podcast. Most people don't, but you do.
I'm so pumped to be here. I met you a couple times in person, and then also we had you on one of our shows. And I just love what you stand for. I love your energy. Let's go deep. Let's have some fun.
We are going to go deep. Craig, I like to start because of the podcast on our companies, most people don't. What do you do that most people don't do? This is a chance to brag a little bit. You're a special gentleman, but what comes to mind?
What comes to mind is that I trust invisible progress. In other words, I have a Wall Street background, 13 years before I made the pivot and reinvented myself in the pandemic to what we're doing now. And I spent years measuring external progress. But today, I pay attention to something much more important, internal progress. For instance, I ask myself questions like, am I calmer? Am I more generous? Am I less reactive? Am I more present? And interestingly enough, once I stopped chasing the visible progress, that visible progress actually exploded. I think it's all an internal game. And once I really started putting an emphasis on how I was showing up internally, focusing on the roots, then I began to see the fruits.
Wow. And what a smart acknowledgement of that. When you were in it, when you were in the financial world for 13 years, did you realize that you were chasing things?
I realized it because I knew that I wasn't happy until I hit something external, whether that was a goal or a number in the bank account or an apartment in New York City. See, when you're about that lifestyle, what you soon realize is that it's never enough. You're never fulfilled because that doesn't actually measure fulfillment. Anytime we're chasing anything external, you might get a spark of light, like a hit. But just like a drug, it's high and then it's by. I realized it, I had the awareness, but my consciousness wasn't yet to a place where I could do something about it. Then in the pandemic, when things got really quiet, I really started doubling down on my spirituality and so forth. Then I realized now it's time to do something about it. But I knew that I was misaligned. And I started to ask myself the tough questions like, how long can I do this for? Like, at what point is it ever enough? Then I began to realize this whole game of chasing anything external, it's a losing game because you just end up feeling hollow, empty inside.
Misaligned and chasing certain things that when you got there, maybe it made you happy temporarily, but then you realize long term, I need to then chase something else. I need to chase something else. And it sounds like you realize that's a losing proposition and probably freaking exhausting.
Very exhausting.
No, go ahead, Craig.
I was just going to say, people often ask me, like, did my life change when I left Wall Street? Interestingly enough, my life changed when I realized achievement wasn't going to heal me. Because for years, I thought success created peace. But eventually, I learned that peace creates success. That was a huge breakthrough for me.
Fantastic. Did something happen after 13 years? Was there an aha moment of, holy crap, I just made $100 million. I just bought a yacht. I just bought a new Rolex, whatever the case is, and I'm sad as can be. Did anything happen that propelled you to say, I got to figure this out?
Actually, it wasn't what you might think because it wasn't an external success. It was my personal life began to unravel. I started navigating what I would call my dark night of the soul, my rock bottom moment, where a bunch of things were happening at the same time. It seemed navigating the end of a long-term toxic relationship, which always a blessing in disguise to be able to get out of it, but never fun in the moment. And then my best friend, my dad, had just got diagnosed with cancer at the time, around 2018, and seemed like it came out of nowhere. In addition to all that, I was waking up every day. I was going to work. I'm grateful I had employees, I had a business, but I was so depleted at the end of the long day. I just want to be clear because I know you can relate to this. Doing what you love, working your butt off, at the end of the long day, you're probably tired, but you can't wait to get back at it. That's how I am now. But those days, I was empty. I was suffocating. I was depleted. With all that going on, I started to question, why am I really here? This can't be it. What is my purpose? And that's when I really started injecting more consciousness and spirituality into the equation. But I think it was after that dark night of the soul, that rock bottom moment where I was so miserable that I had to consider, could there be a different way?
And along those lines, you left the financial world after 13 years running a business, doing very well. What was your immediate next business? Was it writing a book? Was it coaching? Was it speaking? Where was the transition? Because I know you got millions of followers all over the world, but what was it? I'm done being a financial person to what? What did you the next day start?
It's so funny you asked because I shut down let me take you back. If you insist, I'll take you back.
I insist.
I'm in the pandemic. It's probably around April 2020. And wow, this is great. Not the pandemic, but the lockdown, because I had a minute to just reconnect. For me, that's creator, that's source, divine, universe, whatever's good for any of your listeners. For me, that's creator. I started to ask questions like, is this it? What are we here for? What is my purpose? How can I express my soul in the world? And I started to get a little bit of clarity and downloads. And it was in that moment that I realized my biggest fear was that the lockdown would end and I wouldn't have more time to figure this out. Because on watching for 13 years, I never took the time to actually create that space and receive those downloads. For anyone listening now, please don't wait for a global pandemic to create that space. And once I started getting those downloads, that's when Cultivate Lasting Symphony or CLS, or Siegel started coming to me. I'd always been obsessed with personal development. I utilized it as a tool to become successful in other arenas, whether that was business or marathons or investments. But in that moment, I received a download that personal development was the vehicle in which my soul was here to express the highest version of my soul to the world. That's when I began to put out content, and I came up with a whole strategy for what CLS was going to turn into eventually: coaching, speaking, the podcast, TED Talk, community, all that stuff. But step one was I just want to take some time and reintroduce myself to the world and just start adding value and putting out some content about mindset and things I've learned along the way. Once I started to really build momentum and I was starting to build a community, which is much different than an audience, that's when I opened my doors for coaching and it began to really take off. CLS was the big mission, like an ecosystem, but the first thing I eventually started to open up my doors to start doing business was coaching.
Wow. Craig, what I'm learning from that, most people don't say they don't want the lockout to end, but you shared that. And I can understand that. Most people don't take the time to pause, to reevaluate. And that was a forced pause for you, Craig. And I think I shared maybe a little bit when I was on your show that I had a heart attack, massive heart attack before the pandemic. And I was upset by it. I'm fine today, but I was that it happened because it forced me to stop. It forced me to stop and think, not unlike what you're talking about. Let me reevaluate. Why did I have a heart attack? Was my work environment too hectic? Was it too stressful? Did I feel not fulfilled? There were components that was causing me to feel that way. It's very interesting. The other part that I like you said, Craig, is don't wait. You don't have to wait for a pandemic to have something happen to you. When I'm doing my keynote messages and my training in front of people, I will all of a sudden, I'm going from slide to slide, great imagery, and then I bring up the blue screen of death, an image. When your computer crashes, my message, Craig, is don't wait, because you don't know when your computer is going to crash. Your computer could be your health. Your computer could be the pandemic, the environment, the economy. The crashing component it could be so many different things. But don't wait. Don't wait to be able to figure this out. It sounds like also, Craig, when you stop being in the world of finance, the personal development, the branding, the development really started from within, correct? Because you were always doing it. And you're like, look, let me pause and let me redevelop my brand. Let me figure out what I'm good at, what I'm passionate about. And it just led to the creation of CLS, which was then and is helping other people figure out who they are and what they want. Am I getting it?
Very close. I just want to say one thing about what you shared, which I thought was beautiful. I think you and I were both given a gift that we probably wouldn't have chosen. Yours came through a heart attack. Mine came through a global pandemic. Different circumstances, same invitation, pause. Most people don't pause voluntarily. They wait until life pauses them. So it's interesting because that season taught me that stillness, or I believe Genesis, which is that moment of creation, stillness is not the absence of progress. It's often where the deepest progress actually happens, because we live in a culture that celebrates motion. Go faster, do more, scale bigger, post more. But some of the greatest breakthroughs in my life personally didn't come from acceleration. They actually came from reflection. So don't look at a reflection or a connection or a pause as something that you have to do. It's arguably the greatest ROI that you'll have is when you're in that space to download and connect and reflect.
I love that. Boy, and that's really resonating, Craig. Now, there's a story that I wrote not too long ago. Do you know the finger traps when you put, as a kid, you put them in this little wicker trap? And the message that I shared was it's release to rise. Because if you keep on pulling, you keep on fighting it, you're not going to get out of that little finger trap. If you relax and you release, that's when good things can happen. You're not anxious. You're not you are not chasing things. You're confident. There's so many different elements to it. But what you said about the stillness, and in stillness, it allows you reflection. Just this morning, I've been having some back problems, went to a physical therapist, and I had to lay face down for 10 minutes, Craig, 10 minutes, when they put ice on my back, 10 minutes. My temptation was to let me sneak up and get my phone off the table. Let me look at my Apple Watch and see if I can check messages. Maybe Craig was responding to something. Let me see how many likes I got. I was like, no, stillness allowed me just to pause. I was so tempted, man. I was so tempted to jump up and grab my phone and stay busy because of motion. What advice do you share with people how they can get into stillness, how they can reflect without feeling guilty? What do you share?
First of all, this is a huge shift in consciousness because what we just talked about, where we're taught to keep going, keep the action. But one of the biggest lessons, Bart, that I've learned in the last few years is that the universe is always speaking. The question is whether we're quiet enough to listen. And I spent years asking, what's my next goal? What's the next mountain? Today I asked something very different. What's life trying to teach me? Where's the lesson here? Where's the opportunity for growth? Those are very different questions. And naturally, they produce a very different life. For anyone listening out, what is something practical that you can do? Start your day with the most important meeting of your day. I call it my silent partner. You call it your CEO, guide, creator, source, one, whatever's good for you guys. Have a 10-minute check-in, preferably longer, but if you can only fit 5-10 minutes, just check in. Ask the questions. How can I be the best channel today? How can I share my gifts in the only way that I can? Please put me in the positions where I can share with pure intent, no agenda. whatever the case may be, have that meeting and set the tone for the day. It's the most important meeting of your day. And then from there, now you're being proactive. You're not reacting to every little thing that happens. You have intention. I would recommend everybody to find some time, first thing to start your day, be intentional and inject consciousness into whatever it is that you're doing. I would say bring in creator. You might say just inject consciousness, but elevate your level of awareness so you're proactive about the day.
Amazing, amazing. There's a study, and you probably are familiar with it, that I think the number is 85% of people look at their phones within the first 15 minutes of waking up. When that happens, you are then not deliberating your day. You're allowing social media, you're allowing other things to be able to guide how your day is going to go instead of what you are suggesting 10 minutes with God, creator, universe, whatever you call that, in stillness to allow that setting the tone, setting the tonality for the day through stillness and through direction and through the universe.
Yeah.
Smart. It's so
Isn't that
smart.
funny? By the way, that you said 80, I heard a similar statistic. 85% of people who wake up in the first 15 minutes are already reacting to what they're seeing on Instagram or their text messages. What's fascinating to me isn't the phone, it's what we're doing spiritually. Because the very first thing we're saying every morning is, world, tell me who I need to be today.
Wow.
Emails tell us what people need. Social media tells us what people think. The news tells us what to fear. Before we've even heard our own voice, we're already consumed in everyone else's.
Absolutely. It's in such a simple approach, Craig. This is so many things that you've said are quotable already. Craig Siegel, he said this quote, thank you.
Just to give your audience to what do you do about it, pivot. I like to become someone to flip that script. In other words, before I consume, I create. Before I react, I reflect. Before I let the world speak to me, I spend a few minutes listening inward. That's something that everybody can do practically. I'm willing to predict it'll be a huge quantum leap for you in life.
Craig. So we're listening to this. I'm listening to this thinking, man, Craig has his stuff together. Look at what he has gone through. Look at what he is creating, looking at his followers, listening to his messaging. You ever have bad days, Craig Siegel?
A bad day, I don't really think of it as good or bad. I've had very challenging days. By the way, one thing we learned in the wisdom of Kabbalah, which is a spiritual practice that I have, is that let's say there's two types of days. The day where everything seems to go great, momentum, according to plan. Those days compared to the days where it sounds like it feels like you're putting out a fire every 10 minutes, there's so many challenging obstacles. The second day is actually the greatest opportunity for you and your soul to continue to grow, ascend, and transform. Am I saying that everybody should look forward to challenging days? That's exactly what I'm saying. Now, I don't want to classify that as a bad day. We don't want to get bad news if someone that we love is not doing well or something like that. Of course, that's not positive. But the days where that we used to perceive as bad, but it's really just full of challenges and obstacles, those are the days with the greatest opportunities for us to grow, expand, and transform. I don't have bad days these days. Like I'm so blessed to be able to do what I love and speaking to awesome people like you. Does this even work? But I definitely had challenging days, but now I know those are days I actually look forward to.
Amazing.
How
How do
about
you
you? Do you have bad days?
I certainly do. In fact, Craig, a little bit about me. I don't want to make this about me. This is about you.
Please.
But, and I think I shared part of this with you, but when I was 12 years old, I had an out of body experience during routine nose surgery. And I heard them say, he's out, let's get started. So that's going to mess you up as a 12-year-old. Hearing doctors and nurses operate on you when they think you're out, but you're not really out. Anyway, that caused me to have panic attacks and fear of dying and fear of losing control, fear of doctors, fear of a whole lot of things. But that kind of set me on a path at age 12 of being scared, having panic attacks, being afraid of things, being depressed. Like, not a good scene. When you ask, do I have bad days? I have bad days, but I'm reminded that I can handle it. I'm reminded when I meet people like you and I'm writing things down and I can replay this and I can share it with our listeners that if I can help people, that is going to take me out of my own worry in here and in here because I'm giving something to someone else. I do have bad days. I look often tend toward the negative, the cloudy stuff than the positive stuff. That's why I feel I'm compelled to do what I do, because I am always, if I feel clouded every single day, and the only way for me to get out of the clouds is to be able to find the rays of sunshine through other people and through helping people, man, that's what I'm committed to doing every single day. So the answer is I got cloudy days, but I'm in a position now that my life's work is to find the sunshine, to find the rainbows, pull them in here, make myself feel a little bit better, but probably more importantly, be able to share those stories to make anyone feel better at any second by hearing me, listening to me, reading, talking, anything, by our connection, all of those things. Does that make sense?
It makes all the sense. I think it's beautiful, and I love the way you articulated that. And I just want to say thank you for the awesome work that you're doing.
It's my pleasure. And likewise, back to you. Craig, I want more people to learn about you and about what you do. That you have the book, you have your TEDx speaker, you have your podcast. What is the best way for our listeners to be able to work with you and learn from you? What is the best way?
Thank you for asking. I help successful people reinvent themselves before life forces them to. Sometimes it's an entrepreneur who's built a business but lost themselves. Sometimes it's an executive who's checked every box but feels empty inside, like it used to be me. Sometimes it's someone who's simply outgrown the identity that's gotten them this far. When you think about this word reinvention, it's not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more of who you are. My mission is pretty simple. It's to help people stop living from fear and start leading from purpose. I believe the world doesn't need more successful people, so to speak. It needs more aligned people. When you're aligned, then success becomes an expression of who you are instead of something you're constantly chasing. For anyone out there that's looking to find more of their gifts and more connected to their purpose and find a way to bring that in the world, maybe I'll be your guy. There's a bunch of different ways we can do it. We have a podcast, the CLS Experience, Reinvention Formula book. We have our level 1 community, which is where I teach one-to-many every Wednesday. From there, we have a mastermind, level 2, level 3, we do one-on-ones. But something I'm really excited about is we have live events. I'm a little bit of a nerd. I do things in trilogies. Last year we had the Portal, and in March we had Genesis, and then this October we have CLS Formation, which is we bring together really high-level people with pure intent that want to do a lot of great stuff in the world, purely taking their message and scaling it in a big way. We have amazing speakers. I think there's something totally different about the energy that takes place in person as opposed to Zoom. Zooms are great, but when you have the chance to get around that type of proximity, everybody that's really trying to grow, quantum leap, expand, and do a lot of good for the reasons, I think you have the opportunity to really expedite your growth. Something I'm really looking forward to. Look, we're not hard to find. The last thing I'll say is if you like inspirational nuggets throughout the week, we have a free texting community. You can text 917-634-3796. Just text the name Bart so that you know that you heard it here.
That's so fun. Enter the website, cultivatelastingsymphony.com. Is that the best website?
Yep.
All right, Craig, I know this went super quick. I know we need to do more and we need to do it again, but let me just share a couple of closing thoughts. There's a lot of people, I believe, Craig, that are trying to do what you are claiming to be able to do. That's not a thing. There are other people that are claiming to be able to do what you're doing. That's the word I'm saying. There are other people claiming to be able to do and to help like you are helping people. But what I appreciate about you is that you've gone through stuff. You've gone through things for 13 years. You've found success. You found that success. You were chasing certain things, which created this misalignment. As a result of now switching gears, certainly switching gears, in finding out what is really meaningful inside, like that shows the difference about what you were doing. Even the way that you just simply described what you do to be able to help people, I think is just so compelling. I know those words are coming from your heart. It's not you typed it into AI and you said, what is the best way to describe what I'm doing? I know it is real. And I think that is just spectacular. You're helping people identify what should they be doing? What is fulfillment? What is their purpose? but you eloquently described it in such a way that I'm going to have to go back and read the transcript so I can, when I talk about Craig Landon Siegel, I can adequately describe what you're doing. But man, I really appreciating now knowing you in this manner and truly what you're doing.
Thank you for saying that. I receive all of that. Beautiful. I appreciate it. I love the connection that you and I have. And I'm so pumped about building and doing so many more things together. I'd love to have you on our show as well.
Thank you. We're definitely going to do more. In the meantime, I would suggest everyone follow Craig Siegel, Siegel. You can find him on LinkedIn. You can go to his website, cultivatelastingsymphony.com. Wall Street Journal bestselling author, CPC coach, speaker, top podcast in the world, TEDx speaker, marathoner, investor, and boy, just a gentleman that is helping other people and can't wait to hopefully partner with some things. Looking forward to your live in-person experiences. Keep on just doing great things, Craig Siegel. Proud to know you, man.
Thank you so much, I appreciate it.
Thank you.